What's good in the YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Kamen Rider Build episode 43. This episode is called Another Build, and this episode overall was pretty good. It starts off with us seeing a continuation of the previous episode where Sento's father is revealed to be another build, and what happens is that he does recognize Sento as his son because of the fact that he's putting his hands in his hair, and that's very similar to what Katsuragi used to do, showing his anxiety and his upset. So it's a very important detail to consider. What does end up happening is that he begins to fight Sento and the others. He uses Rabbit Tank first, then he uses Nin Comics, followed by Kaizuk Resha, and then Hawk Gatling. When he reaches Hawk Gatling, Ryuga actually uses... He has one of those flashes of memory where he envisions something from Mars, and then it leads to him having this increased strength. And what happens is that Sento's father basically explains that this is happening because of Evolt's influence and his connection to Ryuga. So what happens is that he begins to beat on Sento's father to the point that he's almost able to defeat him, but then Sento goes in and he actually does a final attack with the genius form to protect his father. And at that point, his father, since he's in Hawk Gatling mode, he retreats. From there, we end up seeing that Sento's father talks to Evolto, basically saying that things are going according to plan, things are working fine. And then what we end up seeing is that the villain base, at Sento and the others' base, what happens is that Ryuga's resting because he's pretty beaten up, and Misora can't heal him. Kazumi is kind of upset because Sento defended his father, even though his father's a villain, and under normal circumstances doing that would be fine, but under these circumstances, no, because he's a bad guy. Gentaku was wearing a shirt which says farewell on it, and he actually retreats with Kazumi because he's not happy with the fact that they decided to defend Sento's father. And then from there, what we end up seeing is that Sento, in the meantime, is trying to figure out what he should do. He ends up having a discussion in his head with Katsuragi, having to do with the fact that Sento's father, Katsuragi's father, is really evil, and about the fact that he did this for the purposes of creating the rider system. And you also have to remember that they were being used from the start, basically, like Ryuga and Sento. They were intended to be made, the rider systems was intended to be made for Evolt's purpose. That's what he learned from his own father, that was the case, and that his father was the original build. So both of those things are very important to consider. What we do end up knowing is that he did it for an evil influence, and this definitely, and he knows that he feels responsible, and that's why he's acting the way he is. What we end up seeing is that Misora tries to comfort Sento, and that's not really working very well. But again, she mentions the fact that that Sento was fighting for love and peace, and that's really what he should continue to fight for. But Sento is so mixed up and confused and upset, and that's something that's really driving him nuts. And at the same time, Misora, we end up seeing, is confronted by Sawa with a pill that that has Mitten's image on it, and she thinks that if she gives it to Kazumi, he'll return back. But it's just a silly gag thing. It's kind of funny. What we do end up seeing at the same time is that Gentaku and Kazumi meet up, and the thing is that they do want to fight together to deal with Sento's father, and they agree to work together. And he even wears a shirt that says "agreed" on it. It's really funny. He has these shirts. So what happens is that following this, Sento, he's upset. We end up seeing that Misora ends up confronting Evolto, and what happens is that she says, if I help you, will you help me help? In other words, she goes to Evolto to help Sento so that she can regain back her powers. And the thing is that he says, yes, I can help you. You just have to do what I say. And what happens is that she's put into a nebula gas chamber. And the thing is that if enough nebula gas is inserted into her, it will either kill her or it will restore her to the state of being able to use Vernage's full power. So what happens is that with the nebula gas, she is able to use Vernage, and what happens is that she then confronts Sento after calling him. Following this, she ends up using a ball, puts it against her neck like all the other Lost Smash have done before, and following that, what happens is that she transforms into a Lost Smash, and following this, begins to fight Sento. Sento ends up using tank mode initially and trying to deal with her, but also trying to protect her. Originally, he thinks using the genius mode would, restore her and purify her. But Sento's father arrives and basically says, if you destroy her, if you purify her, then it will actually destroy her and kill her. And so, because Vernage is a complicated situation, because it's like two bodies in one, and that's the whole reason why purifying her wouldn't really work very well. And so what happens is that following this, Sento's being beaten pretty badly. He gets into a very weakened state, and eventually Ryuga wakes up after being pretty badly beaten up, and he decides to join Sento. He decides to even discuss with him and remind him of why he fights and what Sento taught him. Those key important values and things that make all the difference in the world to who he is and why he continues to battle the way he does. And the thing is that really makes Sento realize that he's gonna surpass his father. He's gonna defeat Evolto. He doesn't care that his father, he cares his father's evil, but he's not going to hold back anymore. He's not gonna protect his father. He'll defeat him and go past him and do more than his father could ever do. And the thing is that that's when he gets up. He transforms into genius form. Ryuga transforms into the magma mode. And what happens is that they begin to fight. Initially, Ryuga uses the magma mode to go against Sento's father, and in the meantime, Sento ends up going against Misora. And what happens is that he ends up using the genius form, but he figures out something very strategic, and he says that he has a perfect plan. And it's true, he actually has a very, very smart plan, which is where he actually decides to use the genius form, uses the final attack, but he uses it where he kicks into Ryuga. And what happens is that Vernage's power transfers over to Ryuga, which means that because there's not two bodies in there anymore, what happens is that when she gets purified, she restores back to Misora, and only Misora. Instead, Ryuga has Vernage's power now. And what that does is that not only does he have that power, but it also neutralizes Evolto's power. So basically, the two powers interfere with each other and cancel out. So that's kind of an important factor. Now, does that mean that he can use Vernage's power? I don't know. It sounds like maybe they both just disappear. If that's the case, that's the case. If it isn't, it isn't. Something tells me that Vernage is probably gone, which it is what it is. It would have been interesting to see what Vernage's actual form is, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Vernage might be completely gone. Following this, what we do end up seeing is that Ryuga looks pretty beaten up, but he's actually perfectly fine. In fact, he's just a little hot. And then from there, what happens is that Sento's father is pretty upset by all this, and what we do end up seeing is that Sento and Ryuga end up doing a final attack against Sento's father, and Sento manages to reach hazard level 7. Very important, basically implying that he's reached a hazard level as strong as Sento's father, I believe, who can reach hazard level 7 as well. So that's a very important detail. From here, what we do end up seeing is that Sento's father does end up retreating eventually. He uses the Phoenix form with the rabbit form, I think it was, and retreats away, which is fine. What we do end up seeing is that from here, they're happy that they were able to, battle back Sento's father. Back at the villain base, they're, things didn't go exactly according to plan, but things will still work out, Sento's father feels. And what happens is that they also see on their cameras that Gentaku and Kazumi are sneaking in. And the thing is that Utsumi is the one that actually makes them aware of this. So following that, they know that they're going to have more to do next episode. And then in the previews, what we do end up seeing is that there is going to be a lot of fighting. We do end up seeing that there is nebula gas chambers being used again, so someone else is being put into them. I almost thought initially that it might be Gentaku and Kazumi, but I'm not sure, because you do actually see 2 nebula gas chambers being used, and it's a possibility, but I don't think so. What we do end up seeing as well is that there will be some fighting with all 4 riders against Evolto and also against Sento's father, so that's pretty cool. Otherwise, that's about it. I'd love to know your guys' opinions about this episode and what you guys are hoping to see in the next episode. And just in the future of the series. Again, there are probably about 5 more episodes to go after this one, so we're getting to the very, very end of the season, and very soon we'll be getting into Kamen Rider Zio, which we actually got an image recently that showcased what the rider looks like. What it sounds like is that it's going to be very similar to Kamen Rider Decade, where they'll be traveling through time to past rider seasons and meeting up with the riders from those seasons, which I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. It's going to be a very short season as well, like somewhere around the late 20s, early 30s. That's how long it's going to last, supposedly, if rumors are true. There's a very early rumor going up talking about that whole idea, and it's very much so a possibility. We'll have to wait and see, but he is a time-based rider, so keep that in mind. That is his power that he'll have. We don't know if that means he can actually utilize the powers of the past riders or anything like Decade was able to, but we'll have to wait and see. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to know your guys' opinions about this episode, and until then, guys, I am Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.